All right. Action.
Good afternoon, Mr. Grunberg, ladies and gentlemen. We are the consulting team to give the recommendations to improve the third shift performance. I'm Daniela, and here's Tiffany, Angela, and Rainy. First, I'd like to give an overview of the present stage of the factory. We understand that the third shift has an unreplaceable importance in the factory because of three reasons. First, there is limited supply of local labor because of fierce competition between industry. Second, community spotlight on integrating new immigrants, including the Somali refugee, poses a huge pressure on the company. And finally, there is higher demand on new model freezer, which consists of more complicated assembling process. And it is necessary to keep the third shift. And we understand that you spare no efforts to improve their performance. However, your company has taken some ineffective actions, such as giving a plant tour, showed English video on safety rules, and job shadowing in English only instead of Somali language. And language barrier is a tremendous obstacle for the workers to understand the complicated assembling process. And the problem is still unsolved, and some undesirable outcome exist. When problem stands, deteriorating quality of freezer appear. When problem stands, the lower productivity of workers appears. When problem stands, delayed schedule attainment and late delivery appear. And we would like to generalize the culprits of the substandard performance first.
So the first problem of the first shift is the language and communication barrier. The difference in the language between Somali workers and the local supervisors create an obstacle for the local supervisors to explain the instructions accurately. On top of that, many Somali workers are illiterate, meaning that even if we translate the written learning materials and the safety rules, it will not improve the problem. And this contributes to the long learning curve of the Somali workers. And this will hinder the productivity of your plant and the quality of the products. And for the non-verbal terms of the communication barrier, since many Somali workers does not understand English, the local supervisors may use body language to explain some instructions or remind them of some incorrect procedures by using gestures and body language. At the same time, Somali workers may deliver their needs by body language. However, under the difference in cultural and religious background, the difference in body language and gestures can be very different. For example, using an index finger to call someone over is only for using to call dogs in the Somali culture. So that both of the local workers and the Somali workers may have a chance of feeling offended by using body language to communicate.
Thanks, Tiffany. Besides language and communication barrier, cultural practice is another big issue. For the clothing tradition, most of the Somali female workers wear traditional clothing, like the picture in the left-hand side. And for example, they will wear long billowing dresses and headscarf. And these loose garments may become entangled in the equipment and create a huge safety hazards. For the gender stereotype, we observe that many male Somali workers refuse to take the instruction from the female supervisor, and this can be explained by the social role theory. And the theory suggests that people perceive male in higher status than the female. However, this behavior will hinder the productivity because message cannot pass through the communication barrier from top to low.
Thank you, Daniela, and I will continue to talk about the last problem, which is the conflict between religious customs and productivity. Since so many workers are Muslims, they are required to pay 5 times per day at specific times, and the 5 times are dawn, midday, late afternoon, sunset, and at night. However, these prayer times do not coincide with the regular work breaks. Therefore, some workers may ask permission to go to the toilet during work time, but instead they will go to the restrooms to pray. This certainly will decrease the productivity. In addition, the workers must wash before their prayers. Sometimes you leave large amounts of water on the restroom floor, creating a safety hazard. So these are the problems of this kind. So I will pass the time to our colleague to talk about the recommendations.
Thank you. After analyzing the problems of the third shift, we will now provide some recommendations for your company to solve the problems and improve the performance of the shift. First, we will address the language barrier between the local workers and the Somali workers. We recommend the company to implement a workplace-based English as Second Language program, ESL program in short. The program goals are to improve the English proficiency of the workers and to enhance their safety and performance in the plants, thus boost the plant's competitiveness and improve the workers' well-being. The program will consist of 3 parts. Part 1 and Part 2 will be for tackling the verbal language barrier, and Part 3 will be for the non-verbal language barrier. For Part 1, it will be the tutors teaching the workers to translate the English technical instructions for executing the line procedures and the manufacturing process knowledge possessed by the experienced workers into the Somali language. The hands-on translating service will provide the Somali workers further understanding on the knowledge on the manufacturing process knowledge and to ensure the work safety and productivity. Part 2 will be the ESL training. The content will be about daily communication skills, work and skill development. As employers that have joined ESL program before agree that providing this kind of content for the workers can provide the non-English speaker ones work-related and real-life lessons that can be applied immediately. And the training will be offered on the clock and on-site twice a week for 2 hours, as employers agree that this can increase the effectiveness of this mode to encourage the workers to participate and share productivity gains with other workers, and thus yield high return on the ESL investment eventually. The last part will be offering lectures for the local workers and supervisors as well as the Somali workers for them to understand the do's and don'ts of the body language in both cultures. And this can increase their understanding on the body language in both cultures so to avoid misunderstandings and conflicts between them. Now I'll pass the time to Tiffany to talk about the solution to the cultural practices.
So besides the recommendation for the language and overcoming the language problem, we also have a recommendation to solve the cultural practice difference problem. So first of all is the clothing problem. We're going to provide flexible clothing guidelines, for example, to tie the loose garment for the Muslim female workers, or they can to prevent getting stuck in the machines, or they can put the uniform on top of their traditional clothing. And we believe that by providing a flexible clothing guideline, we can religious freedom and working safety can coexist in your company. So for the other problem about the gender stereotype that Daniela have mentioned, a research have proposed a solution that mixed genders teams can have mixed gender leaders. As you can see in table 1, for the ratings of female leaders and male leaders have raised by 49% and 18% respectively due to the difference in their leadership skills and characteristics. And by having mixed gender supervisors working together, your company's management team can be more effective, and also the barrier can be overcome.
Thank you, Tiffany. And I will talk about the last solution. To solve the third problem, the conflict between religious customs and productivity, we recommend adjusting the regular work breaks to coincide with the prayer times. According to the Islamic Supreme Council of America, ISCA, which is a non-profit and non-governmental religious organizations for Muslims, states that the 5 prayers are an obligation for all adult Muslims. This means that your company cannot stop the workers from having their prayers. However, your company can learn from Celestica. They have successfully overcome the religious conflict by implementing scheduled prayer breaks. So we suggest that the Somali workers can take their breaks which are scheduled at different prayer times to ensure a continuous and efficient manufacturing process. For the issue of slippery floor, we recommend placing anchored and absorbent mats on the floor. According to the Health and Safety Authority, which is a national statutory body in Ireland with responsibility of occupational health and safety, states that if a company places these mats on the floor, the risk of slip accidents can be greatly reduced up to 50%. These are all of our problems and recommendations, and I will pass the time to Angela to give a brief summary.
So far, we have provided recommendations to our company that pinpoint to the root causes of your company's problem, including the deteriorated quality of freezers, delayed schedule attainment, late deliveries, and also the lower productivity of workers. So to help the Somali workers overcome the language barrier, we recommend your company to implement an English as second language program, and for solving the religious conflicts between the Somali workers and their work safety and performance, we advise your company to implement a flexible clothing guideline as well as introducing a mixed gender supervising team. And lastly, we recommend your company to implement scheduled prayer breaks as well as placing anchored and absorbent mats on the washroom floor in the plants to enable the coexistence of religious freedom as well as the plant safety and worker productivity. We believe that our recommendations can effectively improve the performance of the third shift and solve the corresponding problems induced. Thank you.
Good job, thank you. Couple quick questions. One of the things is that my understanding is that from an earlier presentation that the locals, the Somali workers, are illiterate, right? That means they can't read. So if they can't read, why are they going to be using an English and Somali dictionary?
They are not using a dictionary by themselves, but the tutors will use this tool to teach them, but not only because they're literate, they cannot write, but they can just teach them by...
Because they have to teach them to read Somali. They don't read Somali. So you can't teach them to use a dictionary because they can't read Somali. They can only speak Somali.
They'll teach them verbally.
Okay, all right. And the other thing is you said that we believe that religions and the working environment can coexist. But can you give me other examples where these solutions can work in terms of clothing, especially?
Because we suggest that people, for the Somali workers, to wear the uniform on the top of their traditional clothing, or they choose to tie up their loose garments. And all these suggestion is not created by us. We are referring to an academic essay that's doing a humanity research on the human rights about the Islamic religion right.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.